Hi, my name is Lisa. Welcome back to Journals from the Edge, my diaries of living in grief. So today's episode is episode 2. I've titled it Competing with a Memory because it is a subject very close to my heart. It's also a very hard subject for me to talk about, mainly because it has to do with me and what my childhood traumas and my traumas have to do with my child in grief. So I'll be referring to my notes a lot more than normal because I don't want to miss out anything that I wrote. Took me a while to write this and even longer to think about it, years of thinking about this. So the reason I did Competing with a Memory was my son passed away at the age of 24. My daughter was 16 months younger than him, so she was just turning 23, had a 3-month-old daughter and a 4-year-old son when Matthew passed away. Despite their age difference, they were very close. They're closer than most siblings, and mostly because they had to share a childhood marked by hardship and shaped by the consequences of my choices. I divorced their father when they were young, and I remarried when they were young. Both of my marriages were to men who were the complete opposite of me. So some say opposites attract and they're good together, but in my case, it was not. It was the total opposite. It was not a good thing. I never felt like I was truly loved or valued for being a mom and for being the person that I was. And I also didn't feel they treated me equally, and it chipped away at my self-confidence. It made me feel less of a woman and not appreciated, not respected, and all those things. And so during the most formative years of my children's childhood, their lives were unintentionally, I added a lot of conflict and instability to their lives. I once believed that staying married was the key to giving my children the family they needed. I thought I was protecting them. But looking back, I saw how misplaced that belief was. My children didn't need a household held together by obligation and conflict. They needed me. They needed me fully present and strong. I'd been raised to believe that a family had to always consist of a mom and a dad, but my own children needed something different. They needed love, they needed stability, and they needed a home free of the chaos of the men who neither respected me nor prioritized our family life or, prioritized the kids and I. It wasn't until my son died that I started finally seeing the truth about things. I saw the cracks in my own foundation that weren't always visible through my life. They began to surface in ways I couldn't ignore the minute Matthew died. My childhood trauma, feeling inadequate, unnoticed, always misunderstood, those things came rushing back to the surface and magnified the pain of his loss. His death didn't just bring a new kind of grief, it unearthed old wounds, ones I now realize were never fully healed. The loss of a child creates an emptiness that words can't adequately capture. As I navigated my grief, I also saw the ripple effects in my family. I saw there was an unspoken tension in my daughter's eyes, kind of like a silent plea that I just overlooked for a while, but over time I couldn't overlook it anymore. It's a kind of jealousy, not born of malice but it's the complex love she feels for her brother. He's become a memory while she's still alive. She's still here, still needing me, her mother. I've come to understand that their bond wasn't just about love, it was about survival. They faced life's challenges together, and in losing him, she lost a part of herself too. My grief for my son has, in ways I hadn't anticipated, affected my daughter. Of course it would, I knew it would, but ways I just didn't see at the time. And it's the jealousy I see in her is not about competition, but about more of a fear of being forgotten, of her needs fading into the shadow of the brother she loves so deeply. That's what the jealousy I'm talking about. And as a mother, I felt the weight of my son's absence consume so much of my energy, leaving my daughter and grandchildren to kind of shoulder her grief in silence. It's a painful realization, but it's one that, I'm determined to confront it. For her and for myself and for the love we still share as a family. Understanding the depth of my daughter's grief has made me realize a delicate balance I have to maintain as a mother. I want her to feel heard. I want her to feel seen. And I want her to feel deeply loved, not in comparison to her brother, but for the unique person that she is herself. My grief for him doesn't lessen my love for her. Rather, it's an extension of that love, a way of holding space for both the past and the present and embracing them together. As my daughter and I continue to navigate life after Matthew's loss, another challenge emerges, the responsibility of preserving my son's memory while allowing life to move forward. So every day I think about my daughter, now a mother herself, and yet my son is always with me too. I think about him every day. As his mother, I feel an unshakable duty to ensure he's not forgotten. And though his grave is 5 hours away from where I live at the beach, tending it to remains a way for me to feel connected and stay connected to him. It's a quiet act of love for the son I will always carry in my heart. It's become a ritual for me, changing his flowers every 2 months, and I always make the flowers myself, and I order a flag, a garden flag, something to do with the months ahead or something to do with him or something he loved in life with a wonderful picture. And sometimes I'll drive all the way up there and back in one day just to make sure his grave, that it doesn't look forgotten or neglected. I couldn't bear the thought of visitors coming and seeing it and his grave looks overgrown and nobody's tended to it. And I don't want him, even though I know he's not really there, I don't want him to ever think I forgot him. His grave means so much to me. It's just one of the things that really, really stays with me and helps me feel connected to him. I also have a bench there that I had made for him with his name on it, his picture. And sometimes I just sit at the bench under the tree and by his grave and just talk to him. Sometimes a mother just needs to talk to her son. He might not be here physically, but I know he hears me. I feel he does, and I feel his presence there a lot. But my daughter lives halfway between myself and my son's grave. So there's a lot of times I will come just to her house. I'll come for Grandparents' Day for the kids and birthdays and whatever I can. Sometimes I'll go ahead and go to the grave and do it, and sometimes I won't. I try to not always focus on my son when I'm at my daughter's house, but I often find myself talking about my son when I'm here. My grandson, was 4 when Matthew died. My Uncle Matthew was, oh my God, loved his Uncle Matthew. And he has such memories of him, but my granddaughter Everly was only 3 months old. She doesn't even know who Uncle Matthew is. But I believe it's imperative for her to know who her mother's brother was. And I do talk about them. I talk about, his life, what we did, some of the fun things we did. And I make sure that he's remembered on his birthday. We have a birthday party for him. At Christmas, we have a special ornament that Jaden puts on top of the tree. That's just Matthew's ornament to make sure he's a part of it. So I try to integrate things into our daily life or, our life in general to remember Uncle Matthew and remember who he was and never forget him. I even take the kids out for Matthew Days where we do things Uncle Matthew loved to do. Go to Krispy Kreme, he loved to go to antique malls and find different things. So we do things like that. I just try to keep his spirit alive in all of our hearts. But lately I've noticed a kind of a shift in my grandchildren. They don't want to go to the grave as much anymore. Everly, I can understand. Last time we went, the ants got her and she got bitten by red ants and she thinks they're still there and she may never go again because in her mind, she's going to get bit by ants if she goes again. I have the grandchildren clean his grave. They clean it and then I do the flowers. And their papa comes out and he plays with them while I'm putting the flowers in. So we kind of make it a family thing. But Jaden, he remembers so much about Uncle Matthew, but he's not been wanting to go with me a lot lately, and I couldn't understand why. My daughter, she's maybe been twice. She just can't go, and I don't blame her. Her dad lives 5 minutes away. He doesn't go. I'm the one that drives far away and takes care of his grave because the last time I was there with their dad, we were standing there looking down at Matthew's grave, and he said something that just stuck with me. He just looked at it and shook his head, and he said, Lisa, it's just so sad. It's just so sad. And it is the saddest thing to lose a child, to sit there, to go to their grave and knowing he was 24 years old. He had so much to live for. He had so many plans. It's so hard for all of us. But I always took care of my son in life, and therefore I'm his caretaker in death. I will always take care of his grave no matter what. So I'm always going. There is nothing that is going to keep me away from that. But I think sometimes I hadn't considered that my constant efforts to keep my son alive in memory might sometimes be too much for them. It might be that they don't always want to hear about Uncle Matthew's stories, or they don't always want me to shift my focus to the past and not be in the present with them and feel their needs and what they want and need. And it's a hard truth for me to confront. But it's helped me understand the importance of balancing my grief with being present for the family who still need me here and now, and be there for Matthew in his memory, to keep that memory alive. Sometimes I question if I've truly been as supportive as I intended to be, and I'm committed to doing a lot better for both my daughter and my grandchildren. My daughter maintains a connection with a brother in a way that's deeply personal to her. In the months after his passing, she got a tattoo honoring him. He used to write us letters from the Army. He called me Little Mommy because I'm short. She's a little sissy. His nephew was littlest one, and when Everly was born, he called Everly tiniest one. So Matthew wrote letters home from the Army, and if you can see, I have a tattoo here, and it's written in his handwriting. I don't know if you can see it. And it says, "I love you, little mommy." Megan got one right there too. And then when I saw hers, I thought, oh my gosh, that's like a great thing to do, because I can look at it every day and be reminded how much he loved me. He wrote me letters. He loved me. And it did help me. But when I was with my daughter one day, she looked at my arm and she said, "Wow, mommy, I'm not on your body anywhere." And I thought, oh, I didn't even think about that, that she would want me to get a tattoo. I've got a few tattoos here and there. You can't really see any of them. So I had her write her name, and then I put Matthew's name. So I put Matt and Meg, and it's on my shoulder right here, written in their handwriting. But then after I did that, I realized, oh my God, I put him with her. So in my mind, they're always together. They're a unit. Matthew and Megan went everywhere together. They did everything together. But in hindsight, looking at it, I'm thinking, wow, she's not got her own space. She's not her own person. I'm still grouping them together as one person. And it was something, it really hit me deeply. I didn't even consider it, but it was a glaring oversight on my part. And she's my child too. She deserved to be honored just as much as he did. So when I was moved, the realization I hadn't done so kind of filled me with a regret. So she never said anything else about it, and I haven't done anything else about it except recently told her that this arm, I would like her to write something, special she wants there in her handwriting for me to have both of them on my arms. And I was kidding her and saying, you should write, "My mommy is perfect," and I'll put that on there. But, I'm just kidding around with her. She can put anything she wants. And then I'll have both of them here, and I will feel better because I've honored both my children here. But one thing my daughter did, she never said anything more about it. But to me, it spoke volumes that her silence did. It spoke volumes to me. So interestingly, she has her own children's names tattooed on her. She had Jaden's name tattooed several times when he was first born. And when she had Everly, before Everly could read, Megan made sure that she got a tattoo saying Everly Rose. It was instinctively she understood how important it was to make sure that each child felt equally valued. Her foresight, her quiet effort to avoid even the possibility of hurt feelings is something that I deeply admire in my daughter. And so I plan to get her tattoo on this arm whenever, she's ready and whenever she thinks of something, and it will give us time to spend time together, the two of us. So I know my daughter still struggles every day to live in a world without the person she could always depend on. And Matthew was always there. He was her rock. And he was there for her when her dad and I couldn't be, because we were so wrapped up in our own toxic relationship. We didn't recognize how much our children were suffering at the time. The same pattern repeated when I divorced and remarried, and that created a toxic trio between the dad, the stepfather, and me. And so my kids, each of us tried to struggle to find a way through the chaos. I've watched my daughter go through her own divorce after the loss of her brother, and I have to say she has navigated it with remarkable grace and acceptance. From the very beginning, she prioritized her children's needs. She ensured they felt supported and secure. And I'm deeply impressed by her maturity, her strength, and she's just shown all of that in such a challenging situation. She is the best mother that I know, being young, alone, and just going through the grief of losing her brother and her stepsister, who was killed on the 5-year anniversary of my son's death. Her stepsister was killed, and they were all three in a row. So it was Megan, Isabella, and Matthew. And now Megan's lost Matthew and Isabella. She's alone. So she has just such a great aura about her, and acceptance, and just, she does see a counselor. She does, do what they tell her, and she does listen and pay attention to me and to other people in grief, and how we go through it. And I do know that one thing my child learned from divorces is what not to do in a divorce. She has done everything that I did not. And I am so proud of her. You just can't imagine how proud I am of my daughter. So I know that I was the best mother I knew how to be as my kids were growing up. I never wanted more than 2 children, mainly because I grew up in a large family, and my parents couldn't give us the individual attention that, I think we all wanted. So I wanted to make sure that I gave my children individual attention and got to know them really well. But as I said, a lot of the times my kids were together doing everything. And when I became a mother, I vowed to be fully present in their lives. I wanted them to feel valued. I wanted them to be included in everything I did. I was a homeroom teacher. I went on field trips. I was an ROTC leader, a cheerleader, mom, whatever it was. And our home became the gathering place for all their friends. And we were the home where everybody came. And I enjoyed cooking for them every night. I had at least 6 kids to cook for. So it was a very fun childhood for them in some ways, yet the men I married made it so toxic and hard for me that my trauma rolled off into my children and created a environment where they had a very tough childhood in a lot of ways. Some ways it was wonderful. They got to travel the world, do wonderful things, but at the same time, when it was just us in a family unit, it was not a good thing. So I eventually divorced both men, and I'm by myself and never been happier. Actually, my daughter actually gets to see me as me. She sees me in grief, handling it in a way that I probably wouldn't have. I've still been married to either one of those men. In hindsight, though, I realize there's so many aspects of children's lives that I may have overlooked. I didn't pay enough attention to their mental health, or the need for me to simply sit and listen to them about what they were going through because of my choices. I didn't grasp how much they needed me to guide them through the emotional turmoil of divorce, remarriage, and then another divorce. In my effort to be everything for them, I overlooked some of the deeper emotional support they truly needed. And in some ways, I feel I'm still caught in that cycle a little bit. And I know that there's no jealousy of my son. My daughter is not jealous of my son, but there's a vital truth I've come to understand as a parent of both a child who has passed and one who's still living. Something I can't ignore. Losing a child can engulf us in a grief so overwhelming that we risk unintentionally overlooking the one who remains. I have to find a way to honor my son's memory while wholeheartedly embracing my daughter, who is still here, living and thriving and is part of my life. As social beings, our mental and emotional health is profoundly shaped by our connections with others. We need other people. We rely on these bonds to navigate the depths of grief, and when we isolate ourselves, we risk becoming trapped in our own minds, vulnerable to an unhealthy spiral, and you can spiral down very easily in grief. Our living children need us to be present for them, to recognize that they too carry the weight of the loss. They need us to be their anchor, to guide them through the daily struggle of missing someone they love so deeply. And finding that balance is not just important, it's essential for our children. I know I need to direct more of my energy toward my daughter and grandchildren. While it's crucial to honor my son's memory, it's even more important to be present for them in the now. She's the future. She's the one who I'm going to build memories with and continue to shape our journey ahead. And since my son's passing, we've endured a lot more loss. I mean, we've had several of their friends get killed on motorcycles. All my mother's family has died out. My daddy's family has died out. But we've lost a lot of their same age people. When you go to my son's grave, you'll see kids all around who are, some of their friends. So it's so much death and it's so much pain in such a short time. And I know my daughter needs me to make her feel seen and feel valued and loved. I need to be more active in her life. I need to open the lines of communication with her more and remind her every day, that she is worthy, she's important, and loved beyond measure. So working together, I think, and supporting one another is the only way I see to get through this. As a family, we have created all these traditions for Matthew and rituals that we hold him close in our hearts and still keep him with us. But grief, it's messy. It's a lifelong journey, and it's one that teaches us about ourselves, which I've learned so much from this. It helps us about our other relationships. It helps us heal, and we grow from it. And each year brings new discoveries on how to navigate this loss. Every loss we endure deepens our awareness of how precious our loved ones are and how important it is to keep those connections alive, both the ones we've lost, but more important with the ones who are still here. I've come to realize that gratitude is the most powerful force in healing and grief. While grief often centers on loss and pain and longing and integrating, gratitude can shift our focus from those things to positive memories and meaningful moments that we shared with our loved ones. It allows us to be thankful for the time we had with them, but yet find the strength that we need amid the sorrow of their absence. Gratitude helps us recognize the impact they had on our lives and the special experiences we shared. It teaches us how to appreciate both the gift of life and the people who support us through our toughest moments. Gratitude has the power to bring light to our darkest days and guide us toward a more peaceful existence. I am so deeply grateful that I had Matthew for the 24 years he was here on this earth. And I'm even more grateful that I have my daughter Megan here, and I have two precious grandchildren, Jaden and Everly Rose. Grief has transformed me both as a mother and a grandmother. It's prompting me to look inward and reflect on my children's childhoods, their journeys into adulthood, and my own. And it's led me to uncover areas of tension, of growth, and rediscovery, opportunities for all of us to become the best versions of ourselves for the rest of the time we share together. Our siblings should never have to feel like they are competing with a memory. And the fact that I may have made my daughter feel that way, or even my grandchildren, just is something that I feel I feel horrible about it, but I recognize it. I understand it. And now is a time to do some things about it. The people we love, the love we have for those we've lost should never diminish either. But the love and the attention we give to those still here is what's most important. They deserve to be cherished in the present. As parents and caregivers, it's our responsibility to ensure that the mental health of those left behind is acknowledged and supported. So that's my take on my daughter competing with the memory of her brother who has passed. And as I said, there's so much to work on with my traumas that have come up in grief, with their traumas I have recognized, and finding a way forward. And I do see a way. I do see a light. It's taken me almost 8 years, but I do see a light there. And today I spent the day with my daughter. We got our nails done. We went out shopping. We just had the best day. And I'm here with my grandchildren too, just having the best time. And we've talked about Uncle Matthew here and there, but we're not focusing on him so much. We love him, we miss him, but we're trying to move forward and keep him here and in our hearts and in our minds and everywhere. But know that together we're here making memories, and we need to do it together, connecting, realizing that we are all important in this journey and we all need to support each other. That's the main thing. And be grateful for every second I have with them, every single minute of every single day. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's, diary entry. And I will see you again next time for episode 3. Thanks.